Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that this video will find you well wherever you are watching us from. On our side, we are okay. I have the good news from the doctors that my wife is now out of danger. There were other complications after the burns and we were really scared, but we've been told that she's now out of danger, and I want to thank those who continue to stand with us. Now, the former president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is a man under siege and is facing one of the most turbulent political moments in his life. I want to believe that when Uhuru Kenyatta was summoned to The Hague, that must have been the most difficult part of his life. This one is the second one, because as an immediate former president, Uhuru Kenyatta is being humiliated by the people who are supposed to give him maximum respect. And there are troubles in the Jubilee party. Someone is basically trying to snatch the Jubilee party from his hands. A party that he really sacrificed everything to build. And if you ask many, they feel that there is the hand of President William Samoei Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. And Uhuru Kenyatta is actually alone, if you ask me, because the institutions that are supposed to bring order and sanity and stand for justice have literally ditched him. There are two factions in the Jubilee party, as you all know. One faction that is allied to President William Ruto, and it is led by Kanini Kega, the Iyala MP, Sabina Chege, and Adan Kainan. Then the other faction that is allied to Uhuru Kenyatta is of course led by the Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni and Vice Chair David Murathe. So after a lot of push and pull, the faction that is led by Kanini Kega had met in what they said was a convened National Executive Council meeting, and they suspended the faction, the officials that are allied to Uhuru Kenyatta. And when this case went to the Registrar of Political Parties, Uhuru Kenyatta suffered a blow, because led by Madam Anne Deritu, it was affirmed that the meeting was convened in accordance to the Jubilee constitution, and what that meant is that the suspension was legal, which kind of affirmed the position of the Registrar of Political Parties, because they refused to set aside the appointment into offices of those officials who are allied to William Samoei Ruto. So what it means is that Kanini Kega, Sabina Chege, and Aden Kainan could be assumed to be legally in office. Then the latest development is that the faction led by Kanini Kega convened another meeting where they hosted Uhuru Kenyatta as the chair of the party, and in place he was represented, or he was replaced by Sabina Chege. So after the political parties dispute tribunal ordered that Jubilee exhaust the internal mechanisms to try and achieve order and tranquility within the party, Uhuru Kenyatta moved very fast and scheduled a national delegates convention that was supposed to take place on Monday 22nd this month. But Kanini Kega, in a swift rejoinder, convened another meeting and suspended that meeting, and they said that that meeting will not take place, and they told the Jubilee party members to wait for a special communication from the Kanini Kega group. And as if that is not enough, Bomas of Kenya, the place where Uhuru Kenyatta had chosen to hold this meeting, gave Uhuru Kenyatta bad news because they refused to grant them a space. The communication from the Bomas of Kenya Marketing and Communications Manager Gladys Kanete said that Bomas is under renovation and that there will not be a place for them. And I want to submit to you that this is a blow, because the registrar of political parties is not with Uhuru Kenyatta. The political parties dispute tribunal is not with him, and now Bomas is also trying to refuse to give them a venue. So he is fighting this alone. If you look at the number of the members of parliament in Jubilee who are allied to Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto, it is about 3/4 of the number of the Jubilee members. So after this happened, many thought that this is the biggest blow that they're facing. But the vice chair of the Jubilee party, Honorable David Murathe, has told off the Kanini Kega faction, and they have said that the NDC meeting that was scheduled on 22nd Monday will go on as earlier planned, despite the fact that Bomas is refusing to give them a venue. And this is what David Murathe is saying, that the Uhuru NDC is on despite Bomas venue hitch. And it is recorded that the Jubilee Party National Delegates Convention, NDC, convened by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, will go ahead as planned despite the change of venue. Embattled Vice Chair David Murathe has said. And David Murathe continues to say that our meeting is on. We will advertise the venue and also invite our delegates through text messages. They will be notified beforehand. That is David Murathe. And if you have followed the predicaments and the disputes within Jubilee, you will realize that for some times after William Ruto took oath of office, David Murathe went silent. He only came up the other day when he realized that some people are really hell-bent on taking up Jubilee, and it seemed like he was recalled to help and to come and help in this fight. And you know that David Murathe is a man who speaks his mind. He fears nothing. So he has come up and is telling off the faction that is allied to the government that this meeting is on. And from the onset, there seems to be trouble, because the Kanini Kega group has suspended this planned national delegates meeting. But the faction that is allied to Uhuru is saying that this meeting is on. So it means that we will not be surprised when you see a contingent of police guarding the venue which is supposed to hold this meeting. Because you have all seen that the police is with the faction that is supporting William Ruto. This is what we saw the other day when the police surrounded their offices in Kileleshwa and they tear-gassed all the supporters of the faction, the Murathe faction. The government is using the police to try and grab the Jubilee party from Uhuru Kenyatta. But if you see David Murathe talking this way, it seems like Uhuru Kenyatta is also determined to ensure that this party does not go away, because he has really invested both psychologically, economically and socially in it, and he cannot just let it go. The government is using every stakeholder in this to frustrate Uhuru Kenyatta, and this is why Bomas could not give a venue. They are trying to intimidate, they are trying to frustrate Uhuru Kenyatta. It is also another revenge mission, and they are showing him that power is now gone. William Ruto is showing Uhuru Kenyatta that he is now the man in charge. And don't be fooled, don't be mistaken. William Ruto has never forgiven Uhuru Kenyatta for what he did, because for about 5 years in their first term as in Uhuru government, Ruto knew very well that when Uhuru has done his 2 term, then he will hand over the baton to Ruto. But Uhuru decided to support Raila. This really angered William Ruto and his supporters. And this is something that he still harbors within his heart. And he is doing everything to ensure that he frustrates Uhuru Kenyatta. They are also hell-bent on ensuring that they are in control of the political party's fund, because Jubilee gets millions of shillings because it is one of the biggest parties in Kenya. And part of this money is what the government feels is supporting Azimio demonstrations, and they want to get control of this. They feel that once they have control of the Jubilee party, then they will be able to control everything. They will also be able to control the fact that Jubilee wants to get away or get out of Azimio, so that Jubilee becomes part of Kenya Kwanza. But unknown to him, Rigathi Gachagua is trying to entrench himself as a Mount Kenya kingpin, but William Ruto is also using this to set him up against his real siblings. I have said before that KANU is also a rival party, and KANU is also within Azimio. But I have not seen William Ruto going after Gideon Moi. In fact, instead, William Ruto is doing business with Gideon Moi. The other day, I saw Gideon Moi rewarded with a very prestigious contract. And it seems that Ruto is trying to endear himself to his siblings so that come 2027, he will get their support. But Rigathi Gachagua is being misused to ensure that he is ever fighting his brothers, so that when the time comes when he will need their support, they will not be there for him. You all know the Northland farm invasion, you know how they are dealing with Mama Ngina. And Rigathi Gachagua is not careful because he's also a man who speaks his mind. But the way he does it that by the end of his talks, he creates more enemies. There is nothing as bad as creating enemies with your brothers when you need them politically. People like Mwangi Wairia, Mwangi Kiunjuri, Martha Karua, Kabogo, those are alternative voices in Central Province. But Rigathi Gachagua doesn't seem to realize that he will need them sometimes in the near future. So ladies and gentlemen, there is an uncertainty within the Jubilee party. And Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto are so determined to take away Jubilee party. But Uhuru Kenyatta is also not letting go. Right now, he doesn't have the instruments of power. The instruments of power belongs to Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto, and this is exactly what they're doing. But Kanini Kega must be very careful because he is actually biting the hands that fed him. It is courtesy of the Jubilee that Kanini Kega is now a member of parliament in the East Africa Legislative Assembly. He needs to be very careful. I don't know who is going to win this battle. I don't know who is going to blink first, but it is a battle of the titans. Because William Ruto simply wants to show Uhuru Kenyatta that he is smarter. But Uhuru is also pulling his cards behind the curtains. We wait and see what will happen on Monday, whether this will be the end of the Jubilee party being in the hands of Uhuru Kenyatta, or he will still get hold of it. I don't know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. That is my thought. Kindly share with me your thoughts on the comment section.